So let's say you find a massive security hole at work. What happens next? Are you the hero who just saved the day? Or are you the hazard who's about to get shown the door? That's the super tense question we're diving into today.
I mean, just imagine hearing this from your boss after you did the right thing and reported a major vulnerability. And this isn't some made-up scenario, by the way. This is a real quote from a real story. The message is pretty loud and clear. Careful. People get fired for this kind of thing. It's a really chilling response, and it perfectly sets the stage for what we're talking about.
So, really, put yourself in that person's shoes. You've done everything right, you followed the company playbook. Do you get a handshake or a pink slip? That line between being a hero and being a problem is, well, it's way thinner than you'd think.
All right, so to really get our heads around this whole dilemma, we've got to look at the story that kicked off this entire conversation. It all started with a post on Reddit, and it is a perfect, messy, and very human example of how cybersecurity plays out in the real world.
So here's the rundown. You've got this IT tech, right? And they stumble upon this massive vulnerability called proxy shell. This thing is no joke. We're talking about a flaw that can give an attacker the keys to the kingdom, complete control of a company's email. So the tech does exactly what they're supposed to do. They report it. But their supervisor? Instead of a thank you, they get frustration and suspicion. It got so bad the tech actually had to lie and say their account was hacked to send the warning just to protect their own job. It's a total breakdown of trust.
And you know, that kind of chaos, that fear, it's exactly why the cybersecurity industry has formal, structured ways to find these flaws. So let's pivot away from that mess and look at how the pros do it. Let's see how this is supposed to go down.
Okay, so the official fancy term for this is penetration testing, or just pen testing for short. The key word here from the official NIST definition is specialized assessment. This isn't just some random person poking around trying to break stuff. It's a methodical, disciplined process to find the holes before the bad guys do. Now, you hear ethical hacker and pen tester thrown around a lot, and people often think they're the same thing. They're not. Think of it like this. Ethical hacking is the entire profession, the whole big toolbox. A penetration test is just one specific tool from that box. It's used for a specific job with a clear start and end. So, all pen testers are ethical hackers, but not every ethical hacker is just doing pen tests.
But of course, these days, the playground for most companies is the cloud. And that, well, that changes everything. The old rulebook for security testing just doesn't apply anymore.
And this leads us to an absolutely crucial idea. You test your security in the cloud, not of the cloud. Let me say that again because it's important. You're testing your own applications and your own configurations that are running in the cloud. You're not trying to hack Amazon, Google, or Microsoft. That would be a very bad day for you.
And this whole thing is governed by what's called the shared responsibility model. It sounds complicated, but it's pretty simple. Let's look at the top row, IaaS, which is infrastructure as a service. Think of this like renting an empty plot of land. You're responsible for building the house, the plumbing, everything. Now skip down to the bottom, SaaS, software as a service. Think Gmail. That's like renting a fully furnished apartment. Your only job is to lock the front door and not give your keys to strangers. See how the scope of what you need to test changes completely? And this is not some cowboy operation. A real professional cloud pen test follows a super methodical 5-phase process. You can see it all starts with planning and preparation. The actual hacking doesn't even begin until step 4, and it all leads up to the grand finale, which you could argue is the most important part of the whole shebang, writing the report. But, okay, for companies that are really mature about their security, just getting a list of technical flaws isn't the end of the story. You have to go to the next level, and that's when you move from pen testing to what's called red teaming, which is basically simulating a full-on real-world attack. This chart lays out the difference perfectly. A pen test is asking, are there any unlocked windows in our house? A red team exercise is asking, if a team of professional burglars tried to break in over a whole week, could our security system and our guards actually stop them? It's a completely different question, right? It tests the people and the processes, not just the tech.
But whether we're talking about a pen test or a red team exercise, none of it, and I mean none of it, matters without that final report. This document is supposed to be where all the value is, but ironically, it's often the single biggest point of failure in the entire process.
Because, let's be real, a 100-page report filled with jargon that no one understands is completely and utterly useless. It's just expensive paper. It creates this dangerous illusion that you're secure, but in reality, nothing has actually gotten any safer.
So what makes a report actually valuable? Well, it does a couple of key things. First, it has to answer the "so what" question. It connects a technical bug to a real business problem. And second, it has to give you crystal clear step-by-step instructions on how to actually fix the thing. It needs to speak plain English to the executives and get super technical for the developers.
And this is what brings us right back to where we started. Back to that IT tech and his, let's just say, less than thrilled supervisor. Because after all this talk about professional testing, you start to realize something really important. The technical flaw he found, that wasn't the real problem at that company.
No good deed goes unpunished. This phrase popped up a lot in the discussion about that original story, and man does it hit the nail on the head. When doing the right thing makes you a target, you have a way bigger, way deeper vulnerability than anything a hacker could ever find in your code.
Ultimately, it all comes down to one of two kinds of cultures. You've either got a fear culture, where finding a problem gets you blamed for it, and security is just an expense to be minimized, or you have a security culture, where finding a problem is seen as a gift. It's a free lesson on how to get better. Curiosity is rewarded, because everyone understands that security is part of their job.
Look, at the end of the day, technical vulnerabilities are going to happen. They're a fact of life. The real vulnerability, the one that can actually sink a company, is in the culture. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. In your workplace, what would have happened to that IT tech? The answer to that question will tell you more about your company's real security than any report ever could.